Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bennington Select Board meeting. Today is Monday, July 28th, 2025. We're coming to you from the Bennington Fire Facility, third floor multi-purpose room on River Street in Bennington. My name is Tom Haley. I have the honor of chairing this board. I will ask my fellow board members to introduce themselves now.
Hi, I'm Nancy White.
Good evening, Sarah Perrin.
Hi, Jim Sullivan.
Good evening, Jackie Matz.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I'm Clark Adams.
I'm Ed Woods.
Coming from the ether is Ed Woods, as is obviously joining us by Zoom this evening. Also with us is Dan Monks, the Assistant Town Manager. We have Jonah Spivak, who is making sure that Ed can come to us via Zoom. We have Nancy Lively, who is preparing to take excellent minutes. Also with us is Josh Boucher from Cat TV, who is making sure everything gets out there to the public as necessary. We'll begin this evening, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ed, since you're not here, I've asked Clark if he'd lead us this evening, if that's okay.
Thank you for the pleasure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
And Sarah, if you would please read our vision statement that guides our work.
Sure. Bennington is a welcoming, engaged, inclusive, resilient community where everyone, regardless of identity, shares in our vitality and benefits from an outstanding quality of life.
Thank you very much. Next up, we have the consent agenda, which consists of the minutes of June 3rd and July 14th, warrants, and I think one license. Let's take a gander here. Well, we once again have to break up the minutes. So let's take the minutes of June 3rd first, because Jim was absent that day. So could I have a motion to accept the minutes of June 3rd?
A motion to accept?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on those?
Yes.
Nancy?
I'd like the minutes to be amended to reflect that I'd stated the following that night. I asked at least 3 times if Vermont state law gave citizens the right to comment prior to the board voting on the settlement agreement. And I'd like that added to the minutes.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Then, all those in favor accepting the minutes?
Will that be added to the minutes?
Effectively, you're saying it now, basically adds it to the minutes because they'll be recorded in these minutes, which are an amendment to the minutes.
So they're on the town website, that will be added to the minutes?
No, we don't go.
No, they don't go back, right. They'll be reflected in the minutes of this meeting that those minutes have been corrected to include that.
Okay.
Yep. So all those in favor of the minutes as amended, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And
I'll abstain.
one abstention. Okay, then could I please have a motion for the minutes of July 14th, the warrants and the licenses?
A motion to accept?
Second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes, the warrants, and the licenses, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions? All right, thank you very much. Moving on to public comment. First up, we have Mary Morrissey talking about requested documents.
Good evening, Mary Morrissey, Bennington. I guess I'm a little bit frustrated coming back before you because I still have not received the documents that I requested more than 5 to 6 weeks ago. I received one document, and at the end of the last select board meeting 2 weeks ago, I had asked if this board could help me get what I originally had given a couple of items for our town manager, Stuart Hurd, and I do understand he has not been well, and I thought that would have been turned over to our assistant town manager, and I did get one document, but then I asked the board if I could get the rest of the documents that are basic documents that should be in place for this project. After 2 weeks ago, about a week went by, and I got an email from Zach Hale, and I am going to read it. Again, I will state clearly that I'm being asked by a number of constituents. I want to be able to give information that's correct to folks. And I don't hardly ever ask for documents, but this has been a painful process. So what I received back from Mr. Hale, and he had put on the email our assistant town manager, Dan, as well as Tom, and I'm not sure Stuart might have been on it, but anyway, Jonah was on it, forgive me. So it says, "Hi, Mary, my apologies for letting your July 3rd email slip through the cracks. That was my oversight. Please feel free to follow up anytime you don't hear back. I want you to know I take your request seriously and have been working toward getting you the information you're looking for. Following your initial request, I drafted a document for the town's website that outlines answers to many of the common questions we've heard. Before your comments at last night's select board meeting, I had already circulated that document for a final review from some of the entities I am working with. Once I get their feedback on one last item, I will finalize it and make it public with Jonah. What I am asking for should be information that's already there. It's not putting together some pretty package of information. It's just the facts of grants that have come in and what it's for, and pretty simple. He then says, in the meantime, I've restated your questions below and provided answers based on what I believe you are asking. And these were 3 additional questions I asked. Who actually owns the Ben High project now, today? And he answered, this question could mean several things. The land, the building, the individual condo units, or the legal entities that oversee construction and financing each have a distinct answer. Well, we have never heard it discussed in that way in any of the select board meetings. It's been pretty concise to like a one person or group doing it. So this was a little bit, again, added probably a number of questions further on for me. If what you are asking is who is ultimately responsible for the project and all of its financial and operational obligations, then the answer is myself, my business partners, and our investors through entities that we own and manage. those, excuse me, those same entities will lease the space to the town once construction is complete. If you meant something else, I would welcome the opportunity to sit down and clarify. Then very quickly, the next question I asked, was it purchased for the $500 or $500,000 from Gilbert? And who purchased the property and who are the principals? What was the date of the purchase? Yes, the property, and Zach replied, yes, the property was purchased on May 20th, 2025 by Ben High Cornerstone for $500,000 as publicly recorded. This is public information and is also available via the town clerk's office. For transparency, I've attached the property transfer and I've got that information. And then he also says the names of the individuals are involved in the public on the Secretary of State's office. Well, once again, we have had two cornerstone entities involved. One that we were told about probably a month ago, and I went to an open house, and they were told, we were all told that that wasn't the actual cornerstone entity that was involved. So again, more questions. My last question was, if it was purchased from Gilbert, does that mean that the senior center is now not part of the purchase deal with the Ben High because they had already received $500,000? And the answer was no, the senior center remains part of the overall Ben High redevelopment project. So again, this is adding a number of questions to what I've already asked. How do I get the original information that I requested from our town manager, who did write it down several times? And again, I understand and sympathize with what he's dealing with. But how do I get the income and expense spreadsheets that I requested? That was one of my requests, and I had a couple of others. And maybe you can at some point answer that. But I guess I'll leave it at that. He also, just in finishing, he said, Mary, I know you care about getting clear and accurate information, and I share that goal. I also want to be sure that when I answer questions, I'm truly addressing what you are asking, which is why I suggested meeting in person. I believe it could save both of us time and ensure we are on the same page with our communication. This is such an important and impactful project for Bennington. It represents a chance to bring new life, jobs, housing, and vitality to a building that has been largely vacant for over 20 years. I sincerely hope you will join me in supporting its success and being part of the solution. And that's what I've been trying to do, to answer questions, because I've actually even suggested for folks to go to the town office or that, and many folks in town don't feel overly comfortable in doing that because they have seen what happens sometimes at these meetings and how folks are kind of tampered down and when they've asked a question. And I understand it should be a respectful process across the board. But then, so he finishes, we need everyone, including you, on Team Bennington. I am on Team Bennington. I love this community, and I want the best for it, and that's why I've requested simple information to be able to provide to my constituents. So I'm hoping that we can somehow get this information one way or the other. And if not, unfortunately, I believe a lot of constituents will have continue to have more questions, and I think we could actually put some of their questions and concerns to rest if we have the appropriate information and it's not changing every few minutes. One last thing I have, and I'm sorry, I know I'm way over time, is I've had a couple of phone calls and emails from folks wondering if the new material that's going to be used for sidewalks or other replacements of like a sidewalk, Gage Street has, instead of a concrete sidewalk, has a black paved sidewalk, and people are concerned that that will wear down quicker, and they wondered, what the difference in the price was and how lasting it would be. So if I might be able to get that answered at some point, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion. I made an error that I forgot to, we need to amend the agenda this evening, and I hope it's not too late to do that. Representative Morrissey did ask if she could have a few moments on her agenda to read a Purple Heart Community proclamation this evening. If there are no objections, I would like to allow her the time to do that. Could I have a motion, please, to amend the agenda?
I'll recommend we amend the agenda to hear Representative Morrison's proclamation.
Thank you. And just for calling, I would put that next on the agenda, so we call it item 4A. Could I have a second? Thanks,
So
Jim.
this will, that was seconded?
Yeah.
This will be 4A, so...
We'll put it right after public comment.
Okay, so we're just doing it right after, we're not
Yeah.
following procedure. Okay.
Right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. I do apologize. Next on public comment, we have Mike Bethel, who wants to talk about challenges.
I'd like to challenge the board to start having discussions about where we're going in the future on a couple of different things. Lowering taxes, what are your ideas to stabilize our tax rate? Either stabilize it so it doesn't go up next year or lower it. And I'd also like to see if you guys can have, either in the listening sessions or in open session, what your ideas are to bring new businesses to Bennington, the downtown for one, but just new businesses in general, and increase the encouragement of more private investment to Bennington rather than just nonprofit items. Also, I've heard that BCRC is working or trying to work with the owner of the old mill, the abandoned mill there that's been torn down years ago on the right side as you're going down towards Walmart, to clean it up and maybe get that back in circulation so somebody would be interested in investing into it to build whatever. It has access from Route 7, I believe, still, Dan, and from Benmont. So if we could do things like getting the listening sessions to bring people in to give you ideas, if you don't have your own, to start implementing something that will be progressive for the town, our image, and the tax base. And it wouldn't, I mean, there's something, I was talking to one of the reporters at the Banner, and Amazon was on Digger or something. They wanted to go to Essex County, and Essex County basically said no, I believe. And I don't know why we can't have somebody looking to talk to Amazon or other companies like that, why they couldn't come to Bennington and start recruiting some positive ideas rather than just, like I said, nonprofits, drug things, and everything else. So that's what I was going to say, and I said it, and I may say it again under your other talking about listening sessions. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Dan, there was a lot to unpack from what Mary
I
said.
have some responses, probably not for everything, but let me start with the sidewalk on Gage Street. So that is actually now a multi-use pathway, will accommodate bicycles and pedestrians. That's why that is a paved path, and that pathway will actually cost less to install than a concrete path, and it actually will cost much less to maintain because of our ability to repave those projects. So that was a very conscious decision to make, to start to build out a mixed, a multi-use pathway system throughout town. It does not mean that all sidewalks will be converted to multi-use paths, just some major corridors to make it safe for folks to stay off of the roadway with their bicycles. We felt it was especially important to start there, given it's on a street with many children, and it would allow them to ride their bicycles off the street, and also starts to build a multi-use path to the rec center, where we think a lot of children will eventually be able to go on a fully dedicated pathway system along Gage Street. So that's what that is. And that was made very thoughtfully and deliberately. So with regard to that, I do want to respond to a couple things that Representative Morrissey said. First and foremost, I categorically reject the idea that anybody who comes to the town office is treated with anything but respect and welcoming, with welcoming people. So anybody who wants to come to the town office to ask a question, please don't let Mary Morrissey dissuade you. We will happily answer your questions, and we will do everything we can to facilitate answering your questions and helping you with anything that you have going on with the town that has to do with town business. And I personally guarantee that. And if that does not happen, let me know. Or let Tom know, because Tom will come to see me. So I just want to make sure that that's very, very clear. Then with regard to some of the things that Representative Morrissey said, I would say first and foremost, if she has questions, she should take Zach up on his offer that he generously put forth in his email from July 15th. It's now July 28th. So I would say Zach is the person to talk to if someone really wants to get answers. And I know that Zach would very much like to meet with Representative Morrissey if there are any further questions. As far as any documents, if there are any documents that Representative Morrissey wishes to obtain that the town has, now one of the documents she mentions there's no way the town would have, we would not have a income and expense or a profit and loss for Hale Resources. That is a private document that we will not have. But if there are other documents that Representative Morrissey would like to have, and I did not receive any communications from Stuart, and we all understand that that's in flux, please send me or Jonah an email, and we will give you whatever documents that we have. With regard to the ownership structure, there was a statement made that was never communicated, that it was going to be complex. That is actually absolutely not true. From the very first presentations we made, we were very clear that this is going to be a complex transaction, very similar to the Putnam project, and that's what's happened, and that is the way it's going to proceed. There was never any indication otherwise. Zach Hale has put together a very detailed chart of the ownership structure, which has been posted for quite some time on our website, and we would welcome everybody to go take a look at that. I guess I don't have anything further to say to that, but I would say I'm going to be very clear to folks. If you have a question, please come to the town office. Please call the town office. We will do everything we can to answer your questions.
And I could add to that, if you're not comfortable even doing that, if there is a select board member that you're comfortable talking with, I have gone with constituents to meet with town officials and, try to facilitate the thing as fast as possible. I know everybody else on this board would do so as well if they were contacted. So if you're more comfortable having one of us there, by all means, send us an email. We'll set it up, and we do want the community to have all the answers they want.
Now, there are just some things we can't answer, but we will tell you that we don't have that information. No.
And if there's anybody on the board that you're more comfortable talking to than another one, please reach out to us. And we're all here as individuals and as a board, so please feel free to reach out to one or all of us.
quickly. Yeah, thanks. I thought Zach's response to Mary's inquiries was thorough and cordial. And I want to reemphasize something that Zach said and Dan repeated, and it doesn't go just for this issue, but over and over again, this comes up. People send an email inquiry, they get responses back, they don't hear exactly what they want or what they wanted to hear, and then they come in here or they broadcast it out that they didn't get what they want. Talk to the person in person. Have a back and forth exchange and get your questions answered before you start elevating them in other forums. Thank you.
I want to add something.
Quickly, please. Yeah.
The night of the Ben High meeting, I had questions I asked officials wouldn't answer. I had specific questions on the development agreement that nobody answered. I don't think the board ever should have been asked to loan $875,000 in our town reserve fund because the public knew nothing about it. The vote on the town senior building 2 years ago. At no time did any official ever suggest Meals on Wheels might be left behind. Had the voters known that, they never would have given Gilbert the building. And I don't recall any time when the public was told that nonprofit housing groups, including 2 from Rutland County, were going to buy and own the Ben High. Because no one had that information in 2023 or 2024, how could anybody ask questions? Those groups didn't exist, I don't believe, until January of this year. So I really think we need to get the Ben High on the agenda and get questions actually answered for the public and for those of us on the board who still have questions.
Thank you. All right. Representative Morrissey, you have a proclamation for us?
Thank you for allowing me to read this governor's proclamation honoring our veterans who have received the Purple Heart Medal for their brave and selfless military service. I asked to read this proclamation tonight because there is not a select board meeting closer to or on August 7th, which is the National Day of Recognition for our Purple Heart recipients. I have specifically asked Governor Phil Scott for the last several years to make this special state-recognized day as well to honor these brave veterans. Please make a point of thanking our veterans for their military service, but especially to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice or those who were injured while serving our country to protect our freedoms. And it is a state Vermont executive proclamation, whereas Vermonters have great admiration and the utmost gratitude for all residents of our state who have selflessly served in the armed forces that has been vital in maintaining the freedom and the way of life enjoyed by all citizens. And whereas Vermonters have been killed in action while serving in the armed forces and have been posthumously awarded the Purple Heart for their ultimate sacrifice. And whereas Vermonters have been awarded the Purple Heart for their bodily sacrifice of being wounded by the hand of the enemy while engaged in combat. And whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest American military decoration and was created as the badge of military merit, made of purple cloth in the shape of a heart and the word merit sewn upon it, on August 7th, 1782, in Newburgh, New York, by General George Washington. And whereas the tradition was reestablished as the Purple Heart on February 22nd, 1932, by General Douglas MacArthur, and whereas the heritage it represents is sacred to those who know the price paid to wear the Purple Heart, and whereas August 7th is nationally recognized as Purple Heart Day, now therefore I, Philip B. Scott, Governor, hereby proclaim the 7th of August, 2025 as Purple Heart Day here in Vermont, and given under my hand and the Great Seal of the state of Vermont, Philip B. Scott, Governor. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I want to add a comment that maybe you've heard me say before, topical. You know, we've been in a war for pushing on 25 years now around the world. Many Vermonters have deployed, and on a per capita basis, more Vermont servicemen have died than any other state in this country. Our National Guard has bled a great deal for this country, and we can never thank them enough.
Thank you, Clerk. All right. On to topics for our next listening session. As everyone knows, August 21st is our next listening session. I think at our last was the first time we actually introduced a topic around which to center the discussion, and we had a very impressive turnout. So we're going to try to continue this pattern. So we are going to first, I think, if anyone on the board has any topics that they think is appropriate for listening session, we'll hear those. We'll move out to the audience, and then we'll have a word about how people at home can still offer their suggestions between now and the 21st. So who has an idea for our next listening session topic? Nancy.
The plan that we're going to have to address homelessness in the town of Bennington, not Bennington County, not the state of Vermont. I think for over 2 years, different groups under the umbrella of the Bennington County Alliance have been meeting. I think there's lots of plans for the future of Bennington. Like most citizens, I have no idea what the plans are. I don't think the meetings were ever advertised for people to attend. But for over 20 years, we've been the only town with shelters. Nobody can question how kind and generous, supportive we've been, but it's time for other towns in the county to step up. Both Burlington and Brattleboro, public meetings last year, officials said the same thing. The biggest town in each county cannot continue to do this by themselves.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Jim?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I had a while back jotted down a whole list of potential topics, but I won't go through them all.
That list?
But Nancy's point about the homelessness, it kind of points one thing. The top of my list was housing and looking at issues to address housing in the community, and then I started thinking that's an awfully broad topic, although an extraordinarily important one. Homelessness is one aspect of it, but I do think there would be value in having a listening session or listening sessions focusing on various aspects of the housing crisis in the community. And maybe homelessness is first, maybe it's provision of affordable housing and ideas that people have, I don't know. There are a number of others, I'll save them for our next discussion of listening sessions, but one I do want to bring up because people have asked a lot of questions about it, of me in particular, since I've been kind of outspoken on the topic of multi-use pathways in the town of Bennington. It would be nice to have maybe a brief presentation like we did for the monument on what the overall plan is. I know people have asked about that. Where might these things go? And then I'd really like to hear from people about what they think our priorities should or shouldn't be, and where, if the public investment in one or more or none of these projects is appropriate.
All right. Anyone else? Clark?
Again, something I've spoken to pretty much everybody on the board and a lot of people on the streets. In keeping with the housing situation and other things, what we really need in this town is we got to figure a way to bring in investment capital. Somebody's got to, as we all know, the federal government has cut back significantly on federal funding for different issues, but we somehow as a community have to start bringing in investment capital, people who are going to not only bring employment here, but build houses, help us with our infrastructure. And in keeping with what Mr. Bethel mentioned briefly, so we got to expand our tax base. And I think, bringing businesses into our community, in my mind, is critical to expanding our tax base and helping address our housing crises. And I've had said it before, I think the best social program we can get here in Bennington is bring a bunch of good jobs to this town.
Okay. Ed, Nancy, Jackie. All right, let's move out to the audience. Who in the audience would like to suggest a topic for our next listening session? Jeannie.
Hi, my name is Jeannie Jenkins. I live in Bennington. I want to commend you for having focused listening sessions. I thought that was a really valuable session. We all learned a lot. I think people were able to both gain knowledge and also share their feelings about the monument. So I thought that was a great first topic. So I have two topics that feel like the town has a stake in them. One is diversifying the tax base. And we know that we've already done quite a bit on that. We have a very skilled town staff that have started doing a lot of projects in-house, and that's saved us money. We also have gone up aggressively after state and federal grants, which are decreasing in the present climate. And we've done without. Every year at budget time, there are things that we'd like to do that we don't do. That includes, in some cases, maybe benefits and compensation that we probably need to do to remain competitive. So I would love for us to have a session maybe similar to what happened with the monument, where there's some information gathering on what other communities have done to diversify their tax base. And then let's have a conversation about what those things have been, what the implications have been, what kind, how it's worked. And obviously that there's some things we can control, there's some things we can't control as a town. Certainly encouraging investment is important, but we also have some tools, and certainly looking at the various configurations of the option tax is one of them. There are many communities that are using that and are using that to very good use in their communities. And so I think if we can look at this very broadly, everything from soup to nuts, I think that would be great. The other thing that I think is really important for us to re-examine is the vacant building ordinance. I was part of putting together the vacant building ordinance 13 years ago when Michael Harrington was here as Economic and Community Development Director. I was on the BBC at that time. BBC was very important in that process. We had meetings with realtors, we had meetings with downtown merchants, we had meetings with the community, and we had meetings with local and state officials, just looking at what was possible. And what has happened since then is that ordinances have a lot more teeth. You probably read about what Brattleboro has done, and theirs and Wilmington's is based off of what Montpelier has done, as I understand, which is a permitting system that the longer a building is vacant, the more the permit costs. It starts off at a pretty reasonable cost and then escalates. And I think it's worth us looking at that, because if there is one thing that is really holding back economic development, It's people not being willing to have their buildings rented, sold, or leased. And I think just in the last week, I spoke with someone who has a business downtown. It's not necessarily where she would have chosen it to be. She tried to interest someone on Main Street who had no interest in leasing that building, and it would have been a much better location. But that sort of thing should not happen. So I think it is a place, it feels like these listening sessions are an opportunity for the town to look at where we actually have clout, where we can have clout, and those are two places. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up, Mike.
I agree with some of what Jeannie's saying, but not quite. It's time, like you did with the monument session with those people, you might even want to invite some of them back or all of them back, because they knew how to think, they knew how to have a discussion, they're not afraid of bringing ideas. And if you want to replace some of them, I would personally invite the downtown merchants, the ones that are renting the space like Jeannie's talking about, and see what their problems are, what the successes are, what they feel. They're the ones that got everything at stake in this. And some of them may be able to get better ideas from each other. They may be able to hang on longer. I talk to a couple of them all the time, and this year has done a little bit better than last year, but we need to find out why. And we need to find out why or how we can get people interested in Bennington, the positive thing, to bring your dollar here. We need to talk more about, like Mr. Monks and I talked about the Ben Mont thing. We need to talk about the Southern Vermont College development. We need to, as a select board, we need to start talking every meeting about the possibilities for Bennington. Not all the negatives, not the nonprofits, not housing. No offense, Jim, love you, but we all have been talking about housing forever. If Ben High does get developed the way they're talking about, that's going to solve some of the problems. If the other one, Lausanne building down there, the Bradford building, I'm not sure what they call it, if they're going to have 39 apartments for $5 million or $10 million, that's great. Ever ready, that's a discussion on its own. You can ask the realtors to come into that. But we need to get the spirits lifted in Bennington, that we're not just down in the dumps building a methadone clinic and blah, 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 blah. Bennington is a great, great town. We have an airport, we have a museum, we have the hospital. I mean, you can name it, we got it. And now we may be having a $100 million investment up at the Southern Vermont College in the next few years. So that's what we need to put out there. And Jim Therrien's here, and he can use spell check, and he can start asking his new editor to do editorials and write about what the possibilities are for Bennington. We don't have to keep blah, 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 blah. We can start talking positive. And if that $100 million investment happens, they're going to need a town and a downtown ready for positive thinking, a vision, and all like that. So I really urge you to take your next listening session, put it out there. If you need help, I'll call some of the merchants, tell them what the date is, please come down and give their ideas. And then we can spin off of that for other listening sessions. But you're right, Tom, the monument session was a great one. And if we can get that about the positive things in Bennington and where we need to go, and maybe by next spring, summer, we can get something more than what we did this summer. It's now the end of July. You gave BBC $40,000 more, and no offense, the summer's going to be gone. So I just wish you would take one of my ideas and run with it. And Jeannie's right on some of her points. Hell, I'll even say she's right on all of her points, but...
The option tax?
No, not that. Well, I don't know. In the future... I
had a moment.
You had a moment. Don't ruin it. It might be in the future, but right now, the last thing the people of Bennington want to hear is anything to do with taxes. They need to have something positive. What one of your board members did, Sarah there, bringing that food truck thing, that's great. Well, let's see if we can do more stuff like that. And you know, Ed Woods, he's a businessman. He's probably fallen asleep by now, but ask him to bring some ideas to it. He's a businessman. He's worked for the paper. He still works for a paper. You know, there's a lot of talent in this town, but you've got to ask people to apply themselves in a different way, not the same old humdrum BS. So thank you. You're tired of hearing me. I don't blame you. Take care.
Thanks very much, Mike.
I do agree with you once in a while.
Anyone else in the audience? All right. Well, not seeing anyone. Those watching at home, there is a way that you can get us your ideas for listening sessions before August 21st. Jonah, is the link still up on the website? It is.
It's a week before the 21st, we make the decision on the topic.
Yes, I was going to suggest maybe keeping that open till, say, the 12th to 14th, you think, maybe? Yeah, let's say the 12th. If you have ideas, that'll give you a couple of weeks, and then that'll give us an opportunity for Jim and I to discuss it, pick one of really some great suggestions here, and I expect we'll probably see more, and then get it advertised so people will know that the event's happening. So please just click onto the town website. You'll see the link there, and submit your idea, and that will be forwarded along to us. So thank everyone very much. We got some good ideas here. We are on to the manager's report.
Okay.
Mr. Monks.
So one of my items has become irrelevant, which is the schedule of the boards and commissions interviews. That is being scheduled as we speak, and hopefully that'll be ready for you folks for mid-August. Those will be held at the town office. So I think that we have 8 folks to interview. I think 5 people have already responded, so that's well underway. I did want to follow up on a update on the Ninja Path project. And I'm just going to paraphrase my report. Work has commenced and is continuing on the bridge over the Furnace Brook. That is being constructed by Belden Construction. There's also a portion of pathway up to and following that bridge that is being constructed. In fact, it'd be constructed all the way to Route 279, and it will connect to Morse Road at the self-storage facility. That leaves 2 other portions of the project to be constructed. As I've discussed somewhat in the past, we hope to construct with our DPW crew in the spring and summer of next year, 2026, the portion of the path from Walmart to the Furnace Brook. We hope to get approval for force account work on that section. And we are working currently with MSK and the DPW department to develop a bid for the VTrans folks to review. A bid sheet has been created and pricing has begun, but there's still some items that need to be finalized. We also need an opinion of probable cost from MSK that we can submit with the request. And our goal is to submit that estimate and opinion of probable cost by the end of August. And then our hope is to have a decision from the state of Vermont, from VTrans, by the time we develop our budget, so we'll know whether or not we'll be able to take advantage of that force account for that next section. If you'll recall, force account, for those who don't know, and I didn't until recently, force account means that the town's crews are used to construct the project, and the town is paid through the grant for the work that is done. So there's a good possibility that the town would not be out of pocket anything and may actually make a little bit of money on the project. Since we are already paying our staff, we believe, and based on our conversations, that we can charge for staff time. So we'd essentially be reimbursed for staff time that we would already be paying for, obviously, to work on other projects, but it would be an income, possibly an income source for us, which could then be used to help pay for either a match for another project on the Ninja Path, or it's not restricted. We could use it in any way the select board felt was appropriate. So that's the update on that. I will continue to give updates at the select board meetings every 2 weeks, so folks kind of know where we're at.
Tom?
Jim?
Thank you, Dan. I can tell you how much I appreciate that, because I really think that force account is a tremendously important and valuable option for the town's finances, as well as for getting this project done in a timely way. A project that has, grant funding that's been hanging out there for far too long. And the only thing that I would beg, is to try to get away from talking about goals and hopes and talk about deadlines.
Yes.
Because
Well, our deadline is
goals
the end of August.
Goals and hopes do not make a bike path.
Yep, I totally agree.
Thank you.
So our deadline for the first step is the end of August to get that, it's submitted to V-Trans. So that is our deadline.
And when will you know about the force account?
So there is where
That's the big problem.
deadlines would be really nice to be able to impose on V-Trans, but we don't get to impose those. So we can impose a deadline on ourselves to get the information to them, and then we can request that they respond in a timely fashion. Now, we do have someone from our legislative delegation who does have a little bit of authority when it comes to the V-Trans folks, and I would certainly be reaching out to him if we didn't get a timely response.
So we might know by October?
I want that to be the deadline.
October, okay.
Yes.
No, just.
But I don't get to set that, but yes, that would be,
You hope it-
that would
all
be
right.
the hoped-for deadline.
Thank you very much. Upcoming agenda. I have, hard to believe, but it's been a year since we got a report from the Bennington County Multicultural Center. They have asked for some time. I did talk to Mr. Roster Munley and offered him 15 minutes at our next meeting. Dan, do you have anything that you think is imminent?
I don't at this time, but we'll have our meeting, and I'm sure we'll have some things to discuss.
Other business. I was going to start at that end this time,
Well, I
Nancy,
had
but go ahead.
suggestions for the agenda, but I guess I'll wait till other business.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll start with, Ed, do you have anything for other business?
I think you and I have had some brief conversations on,
Hang on one sec, Clark. I asked Ed.
I'm sorry.
It looks like Ed is not,
He may not be there.
Oh, he disappeared.
He's no longer on.
Ed has left the building.
Okay. Well, then Clark, go ahead.
Left the building.
So, you and I spoke briefly on issues of taking a look at our dog ordinance and upgrading that and making it a little more kinetic and dealing with kinetic and proactive and dealing with some of the problems we've had in the last few months. That's definitely something I like to look at. And then again, doubling back to agenda, our CPARB issue too, I think we're going to need to revisit the CPARB, but those are the two other business and agenda items I think we need to look at.
Around the dog ordinance, I will let everyone know that I do have an appointment. Jim and I are going to be discussing that with the chief and Officer Krozik to get some input from the people that are actually enforcing the ordinance to any improvements they would suggest, and then we'll move from there. But I do agree that needs to be on the agenda at some point quickly. Jackie?
nothing tonight?
Okay, Jim?
Just briefly, so I am the Bennington Free Library liaison, and so I have been going to their last couple of meetings, and they've got a great board. It's been good to get to know them. They are currently, as many of you know, working on a strategic plan, and so I will be participating in those sessions and looking forward to that. And the only other thing I wanted to add in the context of libraries is there's the Bennington Free Library. I'm a liaison to that. Why not be a liaison to the McCullough Free Library in North Bennington, too? So I volunteered to do that, just to be an informal liaison to between that library, give them a little bit of the same type of communication. So if nobody has any objection, I will go to those meetings.
Jim, if you would like to volunteer to go to more meetings, I have no objection. I don't think anyone else does. One thing I wanted to mention, since I'm next in the row, the 802 Music Fest is coming up this weekend in downtown Bennington. There will be bands at restaurants all up and down Main Street all day long, culminating with a concert at the Bennington Theater with Bo Thayer, who, if you have not heard him, I do recommend you go. That is a very inexpensive ticket because of the sponsorship from WEQX 1027. You can get $10.27 will get you a ticket to the finale at the Bennington Theater. So I do encourage everyone to come out on Saturday, hear some music, buy some food, have some drinks. It should be a good time for everybody downtown. Sarah?
I have no other business, but I can appreciate being liaison to both libraries and appreciate the representation. So thank you, Jim.
And Nancy?
Yep. In addition to the Ben High being on the agenda, I'm going to ask that we bring the Energy Committee back at one of our next 2 meetings. I wasn't here when they were in, but I watched a replay. They said they'd either clarified or refined their mission, that they will work for the underserved citizens of our town. The statement was longer. But when one of our boards or committees wants to change their mission, they need to be on the agenda for a public discussion, and the board would have to vote on that. They had a couple of other questions, and I read their minutes from January to June to see if I could get answers. And I had a couple of more questions, and I would think the rest of the board, if you'd read all the minutes, you might have a couple of questions too. So I just thought if we could get them in here to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Okay, and you said...
And no, one more thing, skateboard park. We have not even discussed what the rules will be that people have to follow when they want to use the town skateboard park. And yet we charged our taxpayers over $300,000 without voter approval. They've already paid. I've been very surprised the amount of citizens who've asked me over the past couple of weeks, will the town be liable if somebody gets hurt? I said, well, I don't know. I brought that up in 2022. I don't understand why the board, why we haven't had discussions and everybody's questions answered by now. When I looked and researched all the other towns in Vermont with outdoor parks, they're skate at your own risk, skate at your own ability, none are supervised. They all do what Manchester has done. There's a big sign at the entrance that says the rules. It's up to anybody who wants to go in and use the park to read the rules and follow the rules when they're in there. I learned that when you're putting a skateboard park in the downtown, it needs to be visible from the street. But I remember hearing and reading, we're planning on planting shrubs along Depot Street. If that happens, you're going to block the vision in. So without having a public discussion, and I think there are citizens that are going to have more questions, I don't understand. It looks like the park is almost done, and we've done nothing as far as answering questions and letting people know how things are going to work.
I can certainly answer that. The park will be run similarly to what Burlington and Manchester have done. We have already developed a draft list of rules based on those cities and towns, and Nancy, you pretty much described how it will be operated. Your question about liability, it is a town facility. We are responsible for maintaining it and not doing anything negligently. So as long as we are not negligent, we will not be liable. It's just like having sidewalks. People trip and fall all the time, and we do get sued, but as long as we're not negligent, we will not be responsible for those costs. And it's just like, I mean, the town, this is not the town's first rodeo when it comes to running parks. We run parks all over town, and I have every confidence that our Buildings and Grounds Department will maintain that property and that it will be operated in the most professional manner possible. So I don't know what questions you're talking about. I have not received any questions. The only questions I receive is when is it going to be open? We're excited to get in there, and we will be working throughout the month of August to get that park ready, and I will not issue a hope or goal because Jim doesn't like those, but we will be working throughout August on the park.
But I think, and I don't know what Burlington does on the waterfront with their park, but I think we're going to be the first town with a skateboard park in the downtown, and a couple of people think there's going to be a fence. I said, there's no fence. People can be down there at 10 o'clock at night and 2 o'clock in the morning. And when I look at that long, deep park, and I don't know if that's, I think that's a finished park, I worry about people falling and tripping into that and falling.
I've noted that you suggest a skate park be on an upcoming agenda, and I actually agree with you. So let's save further discussions and back and forth for when it's a warrant
Okay,
item.
but I have tried for over a year to get it on the agenda. Could you send us the rules that you've been looking at? Okay.
All right. We do have need for an executive session to discuss pending civil litigation to which the town is a party. So at this point, I will entertain a motion that the board make a specific finding that premature general public knowledge of discussion concerning the pending civil litigation in the lawsuit entitled Cicchini versus the Town of Bennington et al., to which the town is a party, would clearly place the town of Bennington at a substantial disadvantage.
So moved.
Second? Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, any abstentions? And second, I would entertain a motion that the board enter executive session pursuant to 1 VSA Section 313A1E to discuss the pending civil litigation in the lawsuit entitled Cicchini versus Town of Bennington et al., as the premature public disclosure of which would clearly place the Town of Bennington at a substantial disadvantage.
I would make that motion and invite into that executive session counsel and the assistant town manager.
A second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you all very much. We will be taking action coming out of executive
It
session.
appears that Ed is not joining this. That's correct, right?
He has left, so with your permission, I'll close down the Zoom, if that's all right. He left about 25 minutes ago.
Okay.
Is that
Thank-
okay?
I think so. ahead. Okay, could I please have a motion to come out of executive session?
Motion to come out of executive session?
A second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
And Ed voted to come out, so.
Okay, thank you. I will now entertain a motion that, based on the advice of council and the Vermont League of Cities and Towns...
Point of order?
Yep.
I don't think the public's aware that Mr. Woods has rejoined.
Oh, yeah, let's
Yep.
state for the record that Ed Woods has rejoined via cell phone and did participate in the executive session, will be voting, I assume, he could abstain, on the motion that will be placed on the floor soon.
Thanks, Clark.
Thank you, Clark.
Okay, I will now entertain a motion that, based on the advice of council and the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, the Select Board ratify and consent to the settlement of the matter of Cicchini versus the Town of Bennington et al., provided that the town funds of any settlement shall not exceed the deductible amount.
So moved.
A second?
Second?
Okay.
Can I hear who moved and who seconded, please?
Yeah.
Yep.
So who moved?
Jackie and Sarah.
Jackie moved and Sarah seconded.
Thank you. I was going to ask the same thing, Ed, because I was looking down.
Who was the second?
Sarah.
Thank you.
Any discussion? All right, then I will call the vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Tom, I'm an aye.
Thank you, Ed.
All in favor, but for...
That's for me.
Yeah.
Okay, any abstentions? Thank you very much. The motion carries.
Is that unanimous, guys?
Nancy voted no. Everyone else
Thank you.
present voted yes. Okay.
All right. Could I please have a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That one is unanimous.
That is unanimous. Thank you, everyone, very much. Josh, thanks for your patience. And everyone at home, have a good evening.
Yeah, thanks for patching me through.
Hey, sorry that we missed you. Thanks, Ed, and I'll